It's good to be together, and a big mazal tov to the Waldman family. So exciting. And it's not only Shabbat. I feel like I often say that. Often we get Shabbat and something else. But today we have a very special day on our calendar. Maybe not very, but it is a minor holiday. And there's beautiful tradition and complicated tradition around today. And it is Lag BaOmer, which is the 33rd day of the Omer. We're almost heading into the next one, but still, Lag BaOmer is a time when we count. The Omer itself is a time when we count from Passover all the way to Shavuot. We're working on ourselves. We're also counting each of the days, 7 weeks, 7 days, 49 days. We're on 33. But the significance of this day, the Omer itself is actually a period of mourning, and the tradition tells us that Rabbi Akiva, one of the best and most well-known scholars, even though he started learning much later in his life, is still held to high regard on much of a pedestal, that he had 24,000 students, and throughout the time of the Omer, the very beginning of the Omer, there was a plague that was killing thousands of his students. And so we take on the practice of mourning during this time. Some people won't go to live concerts, some people won't get haircuts, and it very much mirrors a time of mourning for a relative if you are an immediate mourner. But when it comes to Lag BaOmer, the tradition tells us that this was the day that the plague was lifted and that the students stopped dying, and there's celebration here. And so all of these mourning rituals are lifted on this day, and today it happens to fall on Friday and on Shabbat. And it wasn't all of Rabbi Akiva's students that died during this plague. There's also a tradition, and I feel like our tradition is very good at looping them together. I think there's intention here. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the top 5 students of Rabbi Akiva, is also known to have his yahrzeit on Lag BaOmer. So if anyone has been to Israel, anyone been to Meron, to Har Meron during this time, that's where he's buried. It's very complicated now. A few years ago, there was a very tragic trampling that happened there. When I studied there, I was able to be there. And he is, the tradition says that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the one who wrote the Zohar. Modern scholars do not believe that anymore, but it is attributed to him. And so the mystical tradition lives with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And the story that's told about him in the Talmud, which actually happens to be in Tractate Shabbat, is that he lived in a time of Roman rule, and one of the other scholars that he was learning with said, how amazing is it that the Romans have built these incredible buildings and these bridges and all of these storefronts? Isn't this just remarkable? And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai responds in saying, every single thing that they built for themselves. This isn't for anything of holiness. This isn't for any greater good. It is selfish. It is for them to be able to go and collect money. It is for them to be able to feel that they themselves are the best of the best. It happens to be Lag BaOmer is humility within humility, hod shebehod. So we're really in humility. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is pushing against this culture in saying that it's not humble. They're not building things other than wanting that credit for themselves. And the Romans catch word of this, and they actually want to kill Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. They already don't like the Jewish people, and so he first has to go into hiding. He hides in the Beit Midrash in the study hall, and then it's still not safe there, so the tradition has it that he and his son end up going into a cave together for 12 years. And they study in this cave together for 12 years, and this is when he learns all of the mystical tradition. A carob tree grew in this cave. A stream comes outside of it. They were taken care of. They even used to bury themselves in sand as to not ruin their clothing. You can imagine, you can picture this time in the cave becoming, although they're hiding, it becomes this moment of incredible safety, not only physically, but also within the mystical tradition and the world of Torah, this magical light of Torah. And after 12 years, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu the prophet, comes and says, it's okay, you can come out now. It's safe outside, the world outside is safe. And so Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son come out of the cave, and as they're walking, they cannot handle the real world around them. They see farmers farming, and they think to themselves, how could it be that we are not immersed in Torah and that the whole world is not always thinking about Torah and learning? How could you just be doing such a simple thing? And their eyes turn into laser beams, and they actually, fire shoots out of their eyes, and they burn everything that they start seeing. Whether or not this actually happened, I'll leave that up to you. But you can feel the story itself is so clear in saying they can't be a part of the world. They're so used to being on this high level of Torah that they can't come into the world and be a part of it. They are on a completely different plane. And quickly, a voice comes from heaven and says, you cannot destroy my world. This is not how it's going to be. Go back into the cave. And so they actually go back into the cave for another year, and they study, and they study, and they come out again. And at this point, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is ready, but his son is not. So his son is shooting his laser beam fire eyes at everything, saying, how could this world be this way? How could this world be this way? And he's actually able to fix it with his sight and with his ability to come back into the world. And it's not until they see a man who's carrying myrtle, some branches, and he's carrying two, and they ask him, what are you doing with these? And he says, Shabbat is coming. I want to celebrate Shabbat, and I want my house to smell beautiful, and I want it to be the most miraculous and spiritual experience. And how does that start? By bringing in this beautiful scent and this nature into my home. And they said, you would be okay with just one. And the man says, no, but it's Shabbat. I need to go above and beyond. A Hidor mitzvah. I need to make it so that my whole house smells this way. And it is this moment that both of them feel as though they are ready to be in the world, that they're ready to be a part of the world once again. And it's this idea that I think sometimes, particularly in the world that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was living in 12 years or 13 years before going into the cave, when everything was about the individual, nothing was holy, he was pushing back on this culture. He was saying, this is not the way that the world is supposed to be. And so he went to an extreme of finding this place of Torah and this mystical world, this safety net. But that safety net wasn't actually the world. It wasn't able to coexist in the world. And then he comes back out, and they can't be a part of the world. They have to hide themselves. They're not ready to be a part of this world because the pain and the suffering and maybe even the mundane nature of what it is to live is not working for them because they've just been in this spiritual place. But then Shabbat comes, and Shabbat is the place, and it is that moment or that palace in time, as Heschel tells us, when we take that holy, holy realm, and we take the reality of what is in front of us, and we pull them together, and we say, we can do this. We can do this. No matter what the reality is, no matter how much we want to shoot fire beams out of our eyes to make the world maybe go away in some senses, this is the time when we sit in this me'ein olam haba, this taste of what the world to come can be, that taste of that cave, which doesn't sound so beautiful, but in this mystical way ends up being this womb, this place of safety and comfort. And we take it, and we do it every single week. It's our way of making it through the world. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai on this Lag BaOmer reminds us just what it is to be a people and to try to bring that light from the other realms, from our Torah, from our being, even when it feels like everything is dark and nothing makes sense. That Shabbat is the reminder each week that says, don't give up. Don't give up. We can be here and we can hold both, and that is exactly what we are all trying to do. And on this Shabbat of Emor and of Lag BaOmer, may it be so that we're able to hold the holiness of the Torah, the light of what it is to be in community, the feeling of the tefillah that we have together tonight, and bring it out into the world which so desperately needs it. Shabbat Shalom.